Today's guest is Marc Levin of Welder Underground.
Welding and metal fabrication is for some badass people. Our first apprenticeship started in April of 2024. I want to teach a bunch of young people the skills that we employ on a daily basis to earn our livings. Every apprentice that we bring into our shop and train under the Welder Underground program, they have zero experience in fabrication or welding prior. We just do everything at the very highest level because we think that talent begets talent and good work begets good work. If you hire an apprentice from Welder Underground, here's what you get every single time.
Want to level up your manufacturing or metal fabrication career? Fabricators and Manufacturers Association connects you with the education, training, and community you need to stay ahead. As an FMA member, you'll get access to exclusive resources, industry events, and a network of professionals who share your passion for making things better. Join today and start building your future in manufacturing at fmamfg.org.
Hello, I'm Dan Davis with the Fabricator magazine, and to my right is
Lincoln Bruner with the Fabricator.
Thanks for joining us today on the Fabricator Podcast. Today, we'll be chatting with Marc Levin of Welder Underground out of New York City. We talked with him at FabTech about some of the work he's done, kind of bringing people into the trades, showing them how welding's done, giving them a taste of what they can accomplish with that, and creating some really neat stuff along the way. A big part of the work that got him on our radar was Max the Rappin Robot. That's not right. Max Rappin Robot.
Yeah, that's kind of what kicked them off. What kicked the Welder Underground program off was working on that big.
And they got worldwide
sculpture.
Attention for that thing.
Yeah,
it's
pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Kind of brought early hip hop comic art to life, and we like them big and we like them metal.
Yeah.
So,
it's like his personality.
Yeah.
Big.
So really fun conversation. We also touched upon the Welder Underground's desire to embark on a door kind of art project.
Yeah, I mean the entire concept is called Remake This Town Tour, and their first official stop was Chicago, and they made that stop after FabTech. So they're at FabTech in Chicago, went back to New York, and then came back to Chicago in mid-October to complete this Doorways to Destiny project.
He had that whole thing conceptualized in his mind as he was talking to us. It was great.
Yeah. Planning something that large is not easily done, so they needed some time to kind of come back.
Yeah, it came to life after we recorded the episode, so we figured Griffin and I headed down to some of the installation sites and just to kind of get a sense of what was going on. And the idea was they had all the kids who were in the Welder Underground program come into and kind of get some real world experience trying to figure out how to manage an installation project and all the pain points that came with it. So,
it's a field trip on a much larger scale for something that's not technically a vocational school, but giving kids a chance to go out there and put what they've learned to use. They also came in a bus they actually remodeled.
Yeah.
And
they bought an old tour bus and they gutted the whole thing and turned it into a mobile welding rig. And Griffin and I were able to take a little tour of it, and it looked pretty sweet. It was just decked out with a bunch of ESOB welders and all sorts of welding equipment, and looked pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Kind of a mobile testimony to what they're all about, right? Because they've got this core dedication to these kids.
Yeah.
And sort of on their website and everything else, you can kind of see those kids are up front, kind of getting center stage. And he was pretty adamant about that during our interview. You think, man, this guy really does care about the future of these kids. It's pretty cool.
It's true, and they want to work with other communities too, not just New York. So that's why they came to Chicago. They partnered with Build Chicago. It's like a youth development organization, and they also partnered with our friends at Chicago Metal Rolled Products.
Yeah.
We were talking before we started recording that Jeanette Vecchio from Chicago World Metal Products was at our booth talking, and Mark stopped by to give me this hat. These hats are pretty cool. And
I didn't get one.
I introduced. Well, yeah, we should have Mark send us.
They didn't have my size. extra large.
They're adjustable, Dan.
Oh, well, I don't know if that's gonna fit.
That's
either.
Snapbacks.
That's how cocky you are.
But just Mark happened to stop by, and while I was talking to Jeanette, and introduced the two of them, and Chicago Metal World Products ended up being the host site for them when they were in Chicago doing these installations to store all these prefabricated metal doors.
Just one more instance of FabTech proving to be a site of serendipity for people.
I guess so. Or the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, that's right.
We're giving FabTech too much credit.
Yeah,
That's
we should take some of FabTech's credit. So you'll enjoy this conversation, and if you have any tips about large metallic art projects going up in your community, please give a call to the Fabricator Podcast tip line.
Yeah. We have to set that up still.
Yes.
Otherwise, we have
815-227-8281.
someone.
That's my number.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It's a work number. Anyway,
Oh, okay. All right. That's
I
fine.
just felt like it had to be a number instead of an email. Or you can send it to the email I always botch up. That's it. Podcast at fmamfg.org.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy this episode. Thank you.
Are you ready to inspire the next generation of manufacturing innovators? Apply for a grant to host a SparkForce manufacturing camp. SparkForce will provide your school or organization with financial support, curriculum, and marketing efforts to make your camp a success for students in your community. Don't miss this chance to make a difference. Apply today and help shape the future of the manufacturing workforce. And now, back to the episode.
Hello, welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. We appreciate you listening in. Today's guest is Marc Levin of Welder Underground. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you for having me.
For fans of the Fabricator, which there are many, we have statistical proof. we actually covered Welder Underground and a back page feature in which the highlight was Rappin Max Robot.
Correct,
I knew I was going to get that. One of my favorite things I've seen recently, just because it captures a lot of elements I like in terms of automation, hip hop, and like cartoon, almost like a cartoon feel to it.
Oh, and the motion connoted by that sculpture.
But
is
why did you
really
say
cool.
one of your most favorite? I think it's your most favorite.
There you go. You can correct me on that.
All
I
right.
do tend to like giant,
Yeah, yeah.
awkward metal things. So if you have any, please send them our way. Send attention to Garrett.
All right.
Never mind.
There are a number on display right here.
So tell us a little bit about your background doing this in New York and kind of the mission behind it, if you will.
Okay. So real quickly, my background is probably atypical for the trade. I studied poetry. I was hustling chess. My wife said she needed some lights, and we were just dating at the time, but she wanted lights in our apartment. And so she said, we're going to start a business, and we started just doing everything that one could do. And prior to that, to make extra money, I would just repair bars and do a lot of woodworking and anything I could kind of do to generate some money for myself and support myself in New York when I had first moved there. And then from that, we started a business out of a 400 square foot apartment, and we would build everything in this 400 square foot apartment. So we started this process of building a design and fabrication business over the years. And so it came from a 400 square foot apartment. Then we took our first office, which was about 1,500. It was like an office / fabrication space. But it was in an office building because that's what we could afford. It was cheaper than taking a commercial space, which needed to be a little larger.
Right.
And we just kept growing the business, and now we're in a 14,000 square foot design and fabrication space that we've been running for 20 years. It's been about a 20-year span here, and I don't know. That's the way we started. I mean, it's not a very comprehensive view, but it's the way we started. And along the way, as we grew the business and we became more well-known in New York and started working with larger clients. And we work with a lot of the museums and a lot of the largest corporations in New York to build installations, exhibits in museums, these kind of things. As we started to grow, I would take on these very large projects and take $30,000-$50,000 out from each project and say, I want to teach a bunch of young people the skills that we employ on a daily basis to earn our livings. And so I would just slowly bring them in, and because on any of the projects that we were doing combined art, architecture, technology, and fabrication. Very large scale things, such as we did Beyonce at the United Nations back in 2012, where we wrapped the United Nations in a 12,000 square foot concave screen, did all the animation for it, did the live projection mapping, did the projection mapping, had her perform live in front of the audience. So these kind of projects, you have architects, you have production managers, you have technologists, you have designers, you have fabricators, you have metal workers. It goes on and on and on how large these projects are. And I just figured if we brought in young people and introduced them to any of these disciplines, that and paid them to learn, that they would give them a leg up in terms of, it give them an opportunity and the exposure to see how these things were made, what happened, what was behind the scenes. Go on, sorry.
What was the initial spark to start including young people in your life mission statement like that?
Enthusiasm.
Okay.
I mean, not just my enthusiasm. When you do something for a while, you need that young blood to, and people always ask me, it sounds so altruistic, but it's symbiotic, right? You want this young energy, enthusiasm, because you're living vicariously through their eyes. They're seeing something that you've been building for 10 years, but they're seeing it new, and they're excited by it, and that kind of enthusiasm is contagious.
Yeah.
So they get exposure, they get an opportunity, and then we teach them very, very specific things along the way. So it's, whatever levels of competency they get after a 4 or 5 month apprenticeship, the 5 things that they always get are, when I introduce them to employers, I say, these are to employers, future employers, I always say, look, here, if you hire an apprentice from Welder Underground, here's what you get every single time. You get somebody, if you're starting work at 7 o'clock, they're there at 6:30, they're having their coffee, they're dressed, and they're ready to work by 7. They are all SST certified, they have their OSHA, right? They know how to be helpful without being intrusive. If there's nothing to do, they're always sweeping and cleaning up and keeping organized, and they're really competent in every in MIG, TIG, and stick, as well as they can finish as well as anybody who's had 4 months of experience. They're not journeymen, they're not the most experienced people, but those levels of competency, you can take any of these young people and you have somebody who can work with you and be a real asset to your shop, and who's respectful. And so this is how we train the apprentices. And,
how did you attain your welding skills over the years?
Just
besides secretly.
In the most Rambo type way, by not killing myself, just barely getting out alive,
Did you have any type of background in welding before you started kind of messing with it?
No, I mean, I did. As I said, I had done a lot of woodworking, and I see just the.
So you had an idea of safety.
Yes,
right?
and I didn't. I was young enough to not really care about how safe I was. I always, there was people who we come kind of out of that maker community as well.
Right.
And so there was groups that I was friendly with back in, in the 2010, like Madagascar out of New York. I don't know if you know those guys. And there was a group that, they were just incredible artists, welders, metal workers, metal fabricators. But just lunatics. So I don't think that I took on the most. I didn't take the most. Safety was. I shouldn't be saying this, but safety wasn't my main concern.
Right.
Really learning
at the time.
At the time, right? Now our shop is we made a video called Safety First. I don't know if you guys saw it. It's like a video with all of our apprentices because it's the most critical part, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would never let anybody do what I did when I was younger. Never in a million years.
Right.
They wouldn't even be able to pick up a torch. It's just literally never, right?
Yeah.
That's, I think it was just a different time and necessity, when you're hungry, you do what you need to do to make things,
When did you start Welder Underground?
Well, like I said, we had been running this apprenticeship program for a number of years.
Oh, even before forming Welder Underground. Okay.
But it was always informal.
Yeah.
And then in 2024, I don't know how far back I should go, but a very unique thing happened in 2023. A very good friend of mine passed away, and she was a remarkable woman, 43 years old, got breast cancer, and beat it, but then 5 years later it came back, and she died from it. And so her husband asked me to give the closing remarks at her funeral. And this was a remarkable woman who was like a DJ who Hank Aaron put through college because she was a 17-year-old working at one of his car dealerships.
That's awesome.
She fell in love with, just thought she was so talented. So said, you can go do more things in your life. What do you want to do? She says, I'd like to go to college. So he put her through college.
Wow.
This kind of woman, right? So she passes away, and her husband says to me, would you give the closing remarks? Because she loved, having these kind of conversations with you. And so I did. And for the closing remarks, I just, when you're in those circumstances, I think there's nothing to you can't prepare for that. You can't prepare, meaning for to give closing remarks at somebody's funeral.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what anybody else is going to say. I don't know all of her friends. So I just kind of sat there quietly in the front row with my friend who was her husband. And I just listened to what everybody said, and I picked out the things that I thought were most interesting, and I recapitulated them. And then I brought a poem by this great poet that I know down in Nicaragua, and I read the poem.
Wow.
And then I sat down. And then he stood up after him, and he said, there's about 100 people here, and most of you don't know each other. And so in the spirit of Misty, why don't you, if you don't know each other, just go, go from one side of the room to the other side of the room, pick out somebody, because that's what she used to do. Like, she thought you were interesting, she'd grab you and say, like, there's a guy on the other side of the room, you got to meet, you guys will hit it off. She was always connecting people in this really good way. So I get up, I stand up, and I'm walking around, at this memorial service. And a guy walks up to me and he says, hey, he said, I really like what you had to say. I know this is a very long story. I hope I'm not boring anybody.
No, ramble away.
Luckily, you're in the land of limitless time.
Right, exactly. I'm here at FabTech with 60-foot ceilings, So he walks up to me and he says, I really liked what you had to say. I liked how you picked out these things. And he introduced himself and he said, what do you do for a living? And I said, my wife and I have a design and fabrication shop in Brooklyn. And usually I end it there. But I don't, for whatever reason, it popped in my mind. I said, and we're also really looking to formalize this apprenticeship program that we've been running for years, and to teach, young people the same skills that we employ on a daily basis to earn our livings. And he looks at me and he says, my name's Curtis Jewell, and I'm from ESOB. I'm the GC at ESOB. And he said, and we're looking to support something like this.
Wow.
And that literally is how it happened.
Wow.
And then it took 8 months, and he and I just worked together to put together what we thought was a program that ESOB would want to support, because they wanted to vet us. They wanted to make sure that we really had a really clear vision for what we're doing. And then they did, and they supported us, and they just started this off. They gave us all the rigs. They gave us, gave us the money that we needed to start the project, gave us all the rigs we needed, gave us, the CNC equipment. I mean, they've been and they've just been like on our side and never asked anything from us, and they've just been on our side since.
That's
and
awesome.
So it's just I can't even explain how that kind of thing happened, but and now we're doing really well with Welder Underground. We've now are getting lots of attention in New York. We've got our state and city and the representatives. We just got a grant from Con Edison. We just got a grant from WDI. We're just moving it along, and it's going well.
That's awesome.
How do you go about attracting young people to the apprenticeship program? I noticed on your website you've got quite a number of young people, active apprentices. Like, how do you go about letting them know that you exist, and how do you go about recruiting them?
Well, so the first cohort, I mean, we've been working with a lot of nonprofits in New York over the years. Okay. But the first cohort, a lot of these different nonprofits, there were 6 people that we were going to work with. And so a number of the nonprofits said, can we recommend a young person to your program? And we did. And then we built Rappin Max Robot. And Rappin Max Robot, in the first 2 weeks of launching, got 250 million views in print and media. And then since then has gotten another 1 billion views online. So when we launched the second cohort, we put it out, we put a call to action, and in 1 week we had 326 applications for 6 spots.
Wow.
And we ended up taking 9 students, or 9 apprentices, but that was it. And so, we just had to shut it down. So, but it's now word of mouth that, and it just keeps growing. And and this has been really a good environment to be in because we've met a lot of employers. So I talk to employers here and I tell them the same thing I told you guys, which are, here are the 5 things that you can expect from our apprentices. And every one of them responds to me, I'll take any one of them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, listen, we all know how frustrating it is when somebody shows up late, It's hard to get over those first 10 minutes if somebody's late because it's disrespectful to you. It's disrespectful to everybody that they're working with. And it just sets the wrong tone for the day. So 30 minutes early sets the right tone of the day. Have coffee. You're not in any rush. Get to work, and start the day correctly. So you take those kind of 5 things, and that's a very employable person. And, the second thing that I always tell them, which is probably most challenging, is that idea about being helpful without being intrusive.
Right.
It is so nuanced and so challenging, but there's a methodology to doing it, which is just ask a question, how can I be helpful?
Right.
And if somebody says, I don't have anything for you to do, sweep.
Yeah.
So people walk into our shop and, there are times where it is, it's a mess, but we are, like if people don't have anything to do, everyone's cleaning, everyone's reorganizing, because it's easier to go back to a drawer and know where something is than like wandering around a 14,000 square foot space looking for something,
Yeah, it's like me looking for my eyeglasses in the morning. Like,
correct.
Where are they?
Yeah.
Does the world of your design and fabrication business blend into?
Correct. Yes, it does.
So they're actually working on some A, interesting, but B, also real projects.
Real world projects.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Okay.
So the way that we phrase it is we train young people to become welders and metal fabricators by partnering with artists to build large-scale public artworks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's our general statement, right? But we also train them by building unique real-world experiences and endeavors. So the design and fabrication business, we've built this nonprofit in a somewhat unique way. It doesn't have any overhead. So every single dollar that goes to it pays the apprentices and the instructors.
Okay.
And now for some materials. But it exists under my shop. And so we've been fortunate enough to be successful in what we've done. So I pay the electricity, I pay the rent, I pay, all of the staff that works for us. And we just donate those services to Welder Underground. Now, Welder Underground is the majority of the thing that we like to do. It's not, the balance is a little different, but then moving forward, our how we structure this is, again, we are going to build, we are very good with coming up with highly creative, large-scale projects, and then just putting decks together and getting somebody to pay for them. Yeah. And that's how we've made our life. It's like we've just been hustling our whole lives. So that's what Adina, my wife, and I were partners in this business. That's what we've done our whole lives. So we're continuing that. So we have a couple of projects that I can't talk about that are coming up that are insane. I mean, large scale beyond large scale, touring. Globally going to tour, But recently, I don't know if you guys heard, so ESOB, we are doing a thing called the Remake This Town tour.
Okay.
And we took a 45-foot tour bus, we gutted it, that tours musicians, we gutted it, and we turned it into a mobile welding studio.
Oh, wow.
And we're touring. It's going to be 11 cities, over the next 12 months. And in each city, we're going to do a big art project with a bunch of nonprofits in that city while teaching young people how to weld. Yeah, I mean, the early things, like we'll just do some tack welding and some introductory, type of things in each stop. So ESOP supported that, and they said, we told them the idea, and they were like, look, we love this. If you guys want to build that kind of thing and take it on tour, we'll support you.
Yeah.
And again, they did, and so each one, like we have a project coming up that we're probably going to do with Nike, and it involves we're not going to just rely on one company to try to pay for everything that every big idea that we have. But this bus, so here's what we're doing. Sorry to keep talking, but you guys asked the question.
Yeah.
So,
and you're the guest, by the way, so they don't want to hear us
right.
talk.
So what we're doing in Chicago is we're coming back between the 12th and the 24th, and we're building 2,600-pound steel doors, and we're placing them in 20 locations throughout Chicago. And they're going to be painted by local artists and muralists. And the project is with Build Chicago, the YMCA, JARC, and a number of other community organizations. And these doors are going to represent, they're functioning doors, they're about 11 feet tall, and they function. And the idea is, as a young person walks up to the door, they are able to walk through that door to a new destiny. And it's a metaphorical concept.
Right.
But then we thought metaphors are nice, but let's even make it more, let's actualize it in a different way. So we're building an app, and that app connects those young people to every internship, every apprenticeship, and every job opportunity within one radius mile of where they stand. So if they need a job, they walk to that door and they will see a posting of every single job or every apprenticeship or every internship that exists. And so we're hoping that we create that opportunity and change some lives that way,
Wow.
That's very cool.
That's what we're doing.
That's pretty awesome. Do you feel that, and this is something that I think even as a podcast, I don't say we struggle with it, but we like to kind of cover some of the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And other times we have shop owners in here talking about their shops, and it's commercial play. It's much more not as I don't want to say not as inspired, but it's much more basic in terms of some of the fabrication work they do.
Yeah.
Do you think your apprentices are ready to enter commercial realms like that?
Yeah. They have, part of what we do during the process of training, because every apprentice that we bring into our shop and train under the Welder Underground program, they have zero experience in fabrication or welding prior.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we take them to places like Maspeth Welding, which is around the corner from us. We show them what production shops look like.
Yeah.
We show them what the grind is, because they are grinding. They work, but it's what we do to get. I mean, this is the thing. This is what everybody. I did it all through my 20s and 30s. This is what you do to get things done in those last moments of a project, especially a big project when there's a lot of details and you want it done correctly.
That is universal.
Yeah, everybody, right? So it's. I think that type of thing is a really good experience. But we take them out to different shops, but we also introduce them to sculptors.
Yeah.
So if they want to get into sculpting, they can get into sculpting. If they want to get into fabrication, they can get into fabrication. If they want whatever they're interested in, and whatever, because that's what's beautiful about welding, about metal fabrication, about this trade, is there's unlimited opportunities. You want to get an HVAC and make money doing that. You want to get whatever you want to do. We're just down with facilitating young people to find a position for themselves, learn these invaluable skill that's not going to be taken over by AI anytime soon.
Right.
And then employ it. And I've met so many great people here, Oregon, New Jersey, all over the country, who are like, when I talk to them, like, we're hiring 40 welders a month. We'll bring, any young person who wants to come out, I'll interview them, So I don't even know if I answered the question.
Yeah, no, but I think sometimes a lot of people view welding as like a lifetime under the hood, and that's not necessarily the case. As a matter of fact, we just had a podcast where apparently welders only spend about 11% of the time under the hood because they're grinding and everything else.
No, I mean, your finishing is going to take 90%. It's a 90-10 split, right?
Yeah. So it's it's kind of
or
learning
in that case 89-11. But yes.
We're not
But
gonna
it's that first step, right? And I think in universally, in other careers, people kind of expect that. You got to pay your dues a little bit before you get started. So to see what your collaboration, your organization can offer these kids, I think is really positive, because I think other people could kind of follow that.
Yeah, thank you.
I think they get lost in the you need to become a pipeline welder,
right?
And it's leading with the money is just not. I don't think it does anyone a favor.
And I think the world is shifting, right? So I think that, even 10 years ago, it would probably be, go chase the $150, $200 an hour.
Yeah, all
gigs,
about the money,
right? But I think people, to your point, I think that there's a lot of opportunity. In our shop, it is a unique environment, and we're working on these really unique projects, which I tell these young people, this is not the norm.
Right.
Like the projects that we work on, because they're projects out of our imaginations, things that we want to do, things that interest Adina and myself first. And if we're not interested in it, we're typically not going to do it. So, so it starts there, and it is if you visited us in Brooklyn, it is a very unique environment.
Yeah.
And we've created the conditions that way because that's how we want to spend a day.
Right.
But there is a way to, to your point, can people kind of tap into, I mean, we will open source any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we'll tell anybody how we're doing things because we want to see it replicated.
Right.
But we're also going to replicate it.
Yeah.
Because we think Welder Underground, you know, we're working with Harvard School, we're working with Kingsborough College. You know, we think that this should be replicated, you know, in around New York, because there's lots of people that we, you know, lots of young people who have been applying, and that we can't, you know, we can get maybe, you know, as we start to grow, we can maybe get 50 kids through our program in our location.
Sure.
But we could get hundreds if we had additional locations. And if we come to Chicago, you know, we'll probably partner with somebody like JARC and Build Chicago to take some of our curriculum and our methodologies and expand those. We have plans to go to Atlanta. We have plans to go to Detroit. So that's what we want to do. We want to take this and just continue to grow it, because we think we've got a method or a mechanism for really tapping into young people's creativity, but also giving them something very tangible that they can use. You know, manual competency is something that when you combine the physical with the intellect, it only comes in full force and full combination when somebody's manually competent. You know, people who sit at a desk all day, they never have that intellectual exposure, that physical and intellectual connection. So I don't know.
Yeah. That creative and STEM and working with the hands, it is something I think education has been chasing in terms of trying to create all these disciplines to show people how they all are related, how they all can be
100%.
applied. And sometimes, you know, these formal organizations get in their own way.
They do.
It's very difficult. And what you're describing is education to
It is education.
Yeah.
But it's doing as education,
Correct.
right? You're learning on the job, and at a meta level, just listening to you talk, Mark, it's exciting because it's full of possibility. But in your mind, you know, we get a lot of talk around here about, you know, like bringing manufacturing back to America and bringing, like, restarting what's been lost and a lot of that. But in your mind, what's it take at the level that you're at, working with 9 people at a time? What's it take to reignite that spark in an economy like this when the need is so great?
It's a very large question, right? Because there is an opportunity. Adina and I talk about this quite often. We've been talking about it for 15 years.
Wow.
And we've been talking about it with, you know, local politicians for 15 years. It is very complicated to bring back manufacturing, especially since we shipped it off in the 80s, right? Because things move so quickly, and those skill sets. So I think it can only happen in microcosmic communities, you know, in microcosms. And I think that it's that, you know, our education systems should do a better job. That would be the first thing. I would start in whatever it's called, primary school, or, you know, like when you know, young people are, you know, 8, 9, 10, I would start right away. I mean, I would have, you know, I would bring back shop class for 8-year-olds, you know what I mean? I mean, that is, you know, I had a great shop teacher who, you know, taught us to use the bandsaw by showing that he didn't have a thumb, you know? I mean, like, that kind of stuff, it just sticks with you, and it's like, it's like, you know, it builds confidence, because you're no longer scared of any piece of machinery.
Right.
You just see it as a tool.
Right.
I'll tell you a quick story. One of the apprentices was walking around the shop a week ago or so and asking everybody what their favorite piece of equipment was in the shop. And he came to me and he said, "What's your favorite piece of equipment in the shop, or favorite piece of technology?" And I said, "The pencil." Because that's where it all starts. Right. You know, I can do everything with a pencil and paper. I can't, you know, if I need a hammer those things those are just tools that I need for a particular job.
Right.
But the one universal tool that I always need is the pencil.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how that relates to the idea of manufacturing, but there is this thing that, you know, our education system should embrace. Shop class should be it should be the first. I would say it should be the first thing that 5-year-olds are exposed to. I'm not kidding. Like, I mean,
no, we've had actually, I think, somebody who
Reggie
chatted
Amelia,
with recently,
you know?
that targeted that age range for one of our workforce summer camps. Correct?
Yeah.
Kind of that primary school age instead of the.
Do you know what happened at Reggio Emilia after the war, after World War II?
No.
Very poor Italian town, had nothing left, you know, after the war, couldn't educate their kids, but they had lots of scrap, lots of wire, a couple of welders, and they just started teaching, and I swear to God, not an exaggeration, 2- and 3-year-olds how to weld.
Okay.
Wow.
And people always ask the question, well, did they burn themselves? And I'd say once. You
Yeah,
know?
right.
It's like you learn very quickly, and it's
Right.
okay to learn that way. It's, you're going to, I'd say, we're all going to hurt ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't be fearful of it. What's the worst thing you're going to get a burn.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you go back to safety, but you can be safe, but you also don't need to be so fearful of the inevitable. Everybody gets, you're going to get something in your eyes. It's an inevitability.
So you throw some statistics behind it. I think people are probably more likely to harm themselves on a skateboard.
Of course.
It's just
Or in a car.
Yeah,
Or in a car, yeah, I mean,
walking down the street.
Of course. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, more people hurt their backs by picking up a
Right.
cup of water. Than
Right.
They,
Yes. Picking up a donut off the floor.
Yeah.
But the other thing you're talking about, we had a conversation yesterday. It was like, don't be afraid of it. Like don't be afraid of it. Like, just don't. You gotta. I was having this conversation yesterday with somebody else for a story. Is like, we need to be cognizant of the danger. This is in particular about laser welding.
Yeah.
Be aware of the danger of it, but don't be afraid of it. Embrace it for the whole that it is.
Right.
The tremendous possibilities behind it.
And I mean, on an intellectual level, I understand fear, but there are so many ways to overcome those kind of fears, because you just, it's like you do something long enough, and if you accept the fact that at some point it's an inevitability, but I mean, I could go off on this topic for a long time, but I just, I think that should be a secondary concern.
Yeah.
I think the first thing that we should be doing is letting people explore, from the youngest age, if we want to build a creative, like, this country was built by some of the most creative minds
Oh.
and hardworking people. I mean,
Phenomenal.
it's like my grandfather dropped out of school when he was 12.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But what better time to relook at education than at a period where, I mean, the immediate goal seems to be reindustrialization. AI is a threat to a lot of careers.
Correct.
That, it more than likely will be replacing a lot of entry-level
Correct.
jobs in a white-collar world.
Absolutely.
So I think some people fear it's just like taking steps backwards, but who's to say those people who did those white-collar jobs won't even be better type of manufacturing, more creative? To me, it's a great time to kind of reconsider how we go about
I
our
agree.
education.
People, listen, people have skills that
Right.
they never get to tap into their entire life.
Absolutely.
Believe me, I can't believe it. There's no way they're going to pay me to do this for another 10 years.
No comment.
Yeah.
I'll inevitably work somewhere if they'll allow me to hang around.
Looking at your social media and your website, you guys do a really good job of like marketing the
Yes.
apprenticeships
Yes.
and the students that are coming through it. What was the idea of like kind of making it look cool?
Because it is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because we want to because I thought that something that I think is so important, welding, I don't even know what kind of language I can use on this podcast.
Yeah,
but,
actually,
let it fly.
There have been plenty of
But-
trailblazers. Go ahead.
listen, welding and metal fabrication is for some badass people.
Yeah.
Like, you do this stuff, like, you put a torch. I mean, it is a superpower, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
we just wanted to feature that, and we also wanted to feature our apprentices in a really unique way, so that they always had a portfolio of themselves.
Yeah.
That it's very hard to talk about yourself, but if you have video documentation of where you started as a kid who walked into a shop and had
Sure.
no idea about what any of this equipment looked like, or any tools, and never had picked up anything that was in that shop, and all of a sudden now, you can TIG like the most nuanced aluminum TIGGing, that should be featured.
Yeah,
And
well-
so we hired a DP, like we just do everything at the very highest level, because we think that talent begets talent, and good work begets good work. And everybody in our shop, everybody that we hire, the first requirement I always have for somebody, and I always ask them this question, I'm like, how hard will you work, in this shop? And if they answer I'll work, X amount harder, that's not the right answer. You want to know what the right answer is? I work hard because that's the way that I want to see something done.
Wow.
I say to these apprentices, you're not doing a good job for anybody else. You're doing a good job for yourself. Right. That's the people I want to hire. And so we feature them because we train them in a different way. We create the conditions and then train them to be the best people that they can be in any environment that they're going to enter.
Yeah.
And so then we want to feature it, and we feature, and then Adina's got all sorts of wild creative imagination. So she created Barbie into a welder. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
The Barbie
that
welder.
got like 4.5 million views online. We have like 9,000 followers, but that thing got
somebody got Barbie to like flip her helmet down.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, and so it's just featuring the apprentices and featuring the work that we're doing, because we want that. We want it to be contagious. We want to feature welding and metal fabrication and art and these kind of things in the best possible light, because it should be featured, and it is the future.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just. I can tell you, I would not want to be in college right now studying accounting. You know?
Right.
I would be panicked beyond my imagination.
Yeah. Well, but when you feature Justin or Ocean or the other apprentices, you're personalizing it in a way that just facts don't do.
Correct.
Right. You're pulling people into someone else's story.
Correct.
In a way that shows the reader, hey, this is a real person taking this very seriously, but also having a very good time at it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that combination, and it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't think work has to be joyless.
Oh no, shouldn't be.
No.
I mean, that's the worst.
It's a hard way to go about it.
And the other thing that we wanted to feature, truthfully, is the vast, vast, vast majority of welders and metal fabricators that I know are extraordinarily talented, extraordinarily smart, extraordinarily creative, and we just wanted to feature that.
Yeah.
Because we're like, this level of talent should be featured in the way that we feature that Nike did it with basketball players after Michael Jordan. It's like, feature the best of what it is, because the imaginations and the creativity, I mean, the problem solving ability. I'll take these guys over. I always say, like, anybody who we work with, who we bring into our shop, who either works full time with us or part time, and we have sculptors, we have a guy who's Luke Schumacher, one of the best in New York City. I mean, we work with Brandon Vernon up at Con Ed. He comes down and gives tutorials to our welders. He's the head of workforce development up at Con Edison. I mean, we just want to feature, and these people are smart. And then the other thing is that this is a helpful community. That's the thing that, like, we took them up to Jimmy DeResta's to his go-kart, right? To his go-kart track thing. And all the apprentices went up. They built a go-kart for the race. We built this monster that could, Jimmy was cracking up. He's like, that thing could take on Everest, But what they found there was just 100 people who would help in any capacity to give them insights, teach them, So I don't know. That's, to your point, that's just what we wanted to feature. We want to feature this community. It should be more of a community. People should know one another. We want to open source all of it. We just want people to just celebrate.
No, you've worked with like Nikita as well.
Nikita's
and
great. Yeah.
Patrice Frazier as well.
Yeah, exactly. All of there's loads of people. We were just doing collaboration, it's a social collaboration with Liv. Ray's over there. And we're just new. We're just starting. So it's only been. It's only been a year and a half, and really our first apprenticeship started in April of 2024.
Wow!
So we're now, what are we in September, right?
Your babies.
Yeah.
So
we're newbies to this.
Is there a sequel to Rappin Max Robot?
There is.
That's awesome.
It's going to be.
That's all he's saying.
Well, so Max is leaving Brooklyn. It's behind the Brooklyn Borough President's office right now. It's leaving. It's going to Paris because we're donating it to Paris.
Wow.
And the mayor of Paris is putting out in front of the hip hop museum that they're building there.
Oh, wow.
And so it's our we always imagine donating it from, as we said, from the home of hip hop, which is New York City, to Paris to commemorate the first Olympics that had breaking.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's that first project. We have a number of really wild, very large projects coming down the pike. And one of the things I like about those is that they are so large that we'll be able to train hundreds of young people, over this next, 24 months,
cool.
and longer. We're just going to continue this until, I don't know, until I die. I guess.
Well, as long as you don't go back to the days where you're trying to burn your apartment down, I think you got some years.
I wasn't trying to burn it down. That was just a byproduct of the work.
Excellent.
Cool.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
All right.
We appreciated the conversation.
Yeah,
We're going to
thank you
find
very
out
much.
more about Welders Underground.
Yeah, you can go to welderunderground.org. You can go to any of our social media. Welder Underground is on. You guys know where it is. Social's not my greatest thing, but it's Instagram, TikTok,
Yep.
YouTube. We have it all over the place. And
Cool.
thank you guys very much. Really
Awesome.
It was
appreciate
great,
it.
man.
Yeah, it was a great
Yeah,
conversation.
Um,
If you have any comments or suggestions, please send them to podcast@fmamfg.org. If you send in the email, you'll get a T-shirt.
Cool.
Well,
Do I get a
first
t-shirt?
5 of them at least. How about that?
Do I get a T-shirt?
Sure.
You do
Of
get a
course you
T-shirt.
get a t-shirt.
We got T-shirts. So yeah, please tell your friends, wake the neighbors, write a story. Thanks for
Whatever
listening.
you can do.
Bye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited by Griffin Hammond and Dana Weicker. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Mike Owens, Billy Kolpa, Pat Simon, Brandon Geyer, and me, Sarah Spring. Email us at podcast@fmamfg.org. Thank you for listening.
I'll inevitably work somewhere if they'll allow me to hang around.